Good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you
Good
loud and
afternoon,
clear.
sir.
Good afternoon. Oh, thank you for that confirmation. All right. So officially welcome you to week 2. So for people that are just joining week 1, that are just joining today, so what have we covered so far? In our session 1, we started with intro to what Excel is, right? And after that, we moved on to data cleansing, right? So that's what we treated for session 1. While our session 2, which was last week, we treated test function and data separation, date functions, and also sorting and filtering. So, and everything we've treated, the videos are all here, including the assignment. So if you have been submitting the assignment, you will get the feedback this week. If you have not started, we advise you to please start. And if you have any questions on what we've done so far, you can always put the message on the group chat. All right. So our session 3, we are going to be starting with this exercise, which is called cell reference, tables, and structures. So if you want to follow along with me, I advise you to download the workbook, and let's begin. All right. What is the exercise all about? Okay, let me mute all our mic. So what is this exercise all about? This is all about how to work around cells, ranges, and tables. Right. So in this exercise, you're going to understand why it is important to name your cells, how to reference without doing manual work, how to automate your report, and you're also going to understand types of cell reference we have. You've probably been doing this, but you don't know that these are cell reference. And of course, we're going to look at what is called a table and ranges in Excel. So let us start with this one called name ranges, right, which is also called name a cell. So oftentimes we have a cell like this and we want to reference this cell. The easiest thing we've been doing is to come here to type equals and reference that cell. And so far it's been working, right? However, suppose we are somewhere in another sheet. Let's imagine we are working on this sheet now, and we still want to reference that cell. Maybe we want to calculate the commission on each of these sales amounts. Let's say this is sales amount, and we are trying to calculate a commission on it. We're going to go here to type equals the sales amount, multiply by going to that cell, and then pressing enter. Now, anytime you have to do this in Excel, it means that you are not being productive. This is manual. All right. The fact that we have to say that equals to this sales amount, multiply, and go to another sheet to reference it is not a productive effort. Also, if you try to copy the formula down, you're going to encounter a lot of errors. And that's because, remember, Excel is not referencing, it will change the reference. That is the way Excel is defined by default. Right. So by default, Excel is designed that in a way that once you change the reference, it also changes automatically. So what do we do instead? So instead of me to go to this sheet to reference it, I'll just put my cursor on this cell and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to put my cursor on this cell C10. I'll go here at the top, which is called a name box. You can see it's showing C10. So I'm going to change this C10 to a customized name. And the advantages of that is I can fetch this particular cell using that name. So let's give it our name. Let's call it a weight. I just call it a weight now. I will just press enter. Now, if I go to this cell, I can type equals to weight and I'll press enter. It's going to fetch me that cell. Now, if I'm on this sheet now, I can now go on here to type equals this sales amount, multiply by weight, press enter. So you can see that my answer is correct, unlike this one was giving me error. So this is one of the advantages of giving your cell a name. So it makes it easy to reference it from any sheet that you are working. And also, it ensures that the reference does not change. So this is advantages of creating a name. Do you understand? Any question before we proceed? Okay. Should I just assume that we get it? I can move on. Okay. Now that we've created a name, like if you are not the one that create this name, it can create a bit of confusion for you. Even if you are the one that create the name, you may be surprised, what did I give this cell? Which cell is called rate? Which cell is called commission? Which cell is this? So you want to be able to identify which name is which name. Or I want to be able to tag the name to the cell. So to get that done, all you need to do is go to formulas. When you go to formulas here, you're going to see an option that says under define names. You see where it says name manager. Click on name manager. When you click on name manager, you can see that this is the name that we created so far. So the name manager will show you all the list of names that has been created so far in this workbook. You would see everything. And not just that, from name manager, you can also modify all the names. You can know which name is which name. For example, weight. Which cell did they define as weight? For me to know the cell, all I need to do is put my cursor on this address. Once I put my cursor on it, when I select on it, Excel will jump to that sheet and Excel begin to hover around it to tell me that this is what is called a name. So look at it. So Excel is hovering around it to tell me that this cell is renamed as a weight. I can edit the name here. I can say, you know what, I don't want to call it a weight again. I want to call it commission weight. One thing you need to know is when you're giving your cell a name, you can't use space, but you can use underscore. Commission rate, I'll click on OK. Close. So far, if you go here to type rate, that's no longer applicable. When you type equals to rate, again, you see that we have a rate in Excel, and you're wondering, there's a rate in Excel, which now brings us to this question. How do you differentiate an Excel function name and the name that you gave your own cell? Because it is possible that function exists, just like rate now. Rate exists in Excel. You will always know because every function in Excel has fx at the back. So the names that you create will always show in this blue icon. Look at the blue icon. Let me screenshot so that we can see clearly. Can you see that blue icon? Can we all see the blue icon? Let me screenshot. I just want to paste it here so we can all see. This is it, guys. Look at it. Look at it here. So the names that you create will always show this blue icon. Why Excel function will always have fx. Even if you use a function name that exists in Excel, Excel will still help you differentiate it. How? For Excel function, you will see fx. For the ones you create, you're going to see a blue icon like this beside it. So let's do it. I'll just say equals to commission rate multiplied by these cells. Press enter. And I can go here to autofill. And the good thing about this is, let us assume that, we change the agreement. It's no longer 15%, it's not 25%. I can go here to change this to 25%. And then guess what? All your formulas are automatically changed. Now, let me give you a practical scenario to a finance person in here. And I'll give you a scenario to a procurement somebody who deals with ordering, right? So let's imagine that you're a finance person, you prepare your financial statement and you do translation, right? So you don't have to begin to translate each line by line, no. All you have to do is to have a sheet called an assumption sheet or calculation sheet where you have all your details. If you've ever seen budget, forecast, or model, this is what we do. So you have the exchange rate there, and if exchange rate increase, you can just go on here to change the exchange rate. And guess what? All your financials are translated. And trust me, this saves you tons of hours. For businesses that are doing discounts, right? Sometimes you want to do a simulation. If I give my customer 10% discount, what's their sales going to look like? What's the report going to look like? How much profit are we going to be making during budget? These are things that you can apply. All you need to do is find a way to link all your inputs to a calculation. Once that cell change, everything you built on that cell will change. So that's one of the greatest advantage of what you just learned now. So the way you name a range, the way you name your cell, you can also highlight a set of range and name them. For example, here to here. You can highlight it, go to name box and call it QTY. So if I go to another sheet now, I can just refer to it by typing equals to QTY. Press enter, and it's going to fetch me that range. Right, so that's how giving your cell a name works in Excel. Again, you can always go to formulas, go to name manager, and then you can begin to edit. You can also create a name of your choice right here. Now let's go to cell reference. You see, in Excel, there's something that Excel do every now and then, which is behavior of how it changes cells. Now, but you see that behavior is of three types. Cell reference. So we have the first one, which is default. We have the relative. This is the first one. And this is what you probably do all the time in Excel. You may not know, but this is what you do all the time in Excel. Second one is called absolute. The third one is called mixed. Now, under these three, we still have two other ones, which is I can call this one three, maybe I can call it A and B. So the A will be something called a tables. The B will become something called structured reference. All right. So these are all cell behavior that are available to you as an Excel user. Now, what do we mean cell behavior? So the fact that you write a formula, you say that selling price multiplied by quantity. When you come here to type this, multiply by this, and you close, after you've done with this, you automatically double click and everything automatically copies down. Right. So this thing that you are doing by referencing this cell and this cell is called cell reference. But the behavior is what makes it change from this cell to another cell, from this cell to another cell. That is what is called relative. So the first cell reference you need to know is the one called relative. And this one is the default settings in Excel. It's default of Excel. This is the way Excel is created. So it is the one that change. This is what you do all the time in Excel. You do something known as a relative cell reference. So let me explain again. So we have selling price, we have quantity, and we want to calculate our revenue, which is, of course, selling price multiplied by quantity. So when you come on here, what you do is you take equals, you multiply your selling price by this quantity. Then you press enter. After you're done with the first one, what you do is you put your cursor here. Once you have this plus sign, you just double click. And voila, Excel copies everything down for you like this. And you're wondering, how did Excel achieve that? So what Excel did for you is when it gets here, it changes the reference. When it gets here, it changes the reference. When it gets here, it changes it for you automatically. When it gets here, it changes the reference. This changing of reference that Excel is doing for you is the default settings in Excel is what is called relative cell reference. So you must always remember that Excel is relative by default. That is, it changes by default. That is that. Now the second one, which is not too popular, is what is called absolute. So this is where you hear us talking about lock. You hear word lock my cell. That's where you see something like this. It's something like this. $A $1. I know you wanted to ask, you've seen dollar sign a couple of times, and you wanted to ask, what does dollar sign mean? Why? So dollar sign means that you are making that cell absolute. That is, you're telling Excel not to change that reference. You're telling Excel not to exhibit its default behavior. So, and for you to lock your cell, you don't necessarily have to begin to type this dollar sign manually. You can use your F4. Just click on F4 button. It will help you do the needful by locking the cell. Or if that does not work, you can use F4 and FN together. So this will help you lock your cell. Okay, so let's see a scenario where this is applicable. Okay, so let us imagine RKY wanted to, first of all, increase people's salary. This is in dollars, for example, by 20%. All right, maybe she has a plan to get a bonus. All right, to get this calculation now, you can come here to type equals 100,000 multiplied by, this is the bonus amount up here. Click on this one and you press enter. Now, once you go here and autofill down, Excel begin to show all of this error. Again, Excel can never make mistakes. You know why? It is garbage in, garbage out. It's a programming language. So this is not an error per se. What Excel have just done is to exhibit the way it was created. And remember, it is relative. So let's see. When Excel gets, what did it do? It multiplied this one by this one. Because in relative, it changes reference. When it gets here, what did it do? It multiplied this by this. When it gets here, it multiplied this by this. Oh, coach, why is it not correct? After all, I did the same thing here. Do not forget, you have everything beside each other. So this one is referencing this, and it's easy. This one referencing this, and it's getting the answer. But in this context, you are referencing a cell above. So the way this one is changing, this will also be changing. So what you want to do is that Excel, I want you to change this reference. It is fine, you can change this one. But you see this cell, I don't want you to change it. I want to lock it. And that is what is called absolute. So how do we speak that language to Excel? So let's do that again. We're going to come on here to type equals a salary amount multiplied by this cell. Then we'll press F4. Once I press F4, this is locked. You can see. This $2 sign means that I am telling Excel not to change this reference. Meaning, always reference that cell by making it what? Absolute. Then we'll press enter. So once we are done, you can come here to autofill. And what will Excel do? You see Excel is changing this, it's referencing this. Change this is referencing this. Change this referencing this. Change this referencing this. Can you see? Can you see that? Always referencing that. This is what is called absolute. Now, let me take us back to when we gave our cell a name. Now, you notice that before we gave our cell a name here, when we copy that, we're having an error. When I gave the cell a name here, it's no longer doing that error. Now, what you need to know is when you give your cell a name like this one, you call it commission rate. It is also what? Absolute. You don't need to lock it because Excel will never change the range. For example, what I did here now, I can decide to say, I can call this one bonus. I'll just go here and I'll just call it a bonus. Enter. So if I'm doing my calculation, I can just go here to say that equals salary multiplied by bonus. Now you notice that Excel will never change that reference, and the answer is the same. So this is what is called absolute cell reference. Do we understand? Any question? Any question? Trust me, if you don't understand this one, you can't get the next one.
Yeah, just wanted to ask.
You cannot get the next one. This is like the second one.
Yeah, just wanted to ask.
What did you say, Niji?
Yeah, just wanted to ask a question about this. So I think in the first one you use the F4 to lock it. So yeah, can you hear me? Yes, I said in the first one use the F4 to lock it.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, so I just wanted to. What's the major difference between this one and the F4 one you did and this?
So this one now is me creating a name. You know, we've done the first we did before we got to cell references. We look at how to give our cell a name. We mentioned that it is faster. The only reason why you may not care about your name is if you are referencing this cell within this sheet. But if you are referencing any cell in another sheet, it's better to give it a name because beginning to switch back and forth is manual and is unproductive. Now, one of the advantages that comes with giving your cell a name is Excel will never change the reference because by default, Excel is supposed to begin to change the reference. But because you gave it a name and you're referencing that cell by its name, Excel will turn that cell to an absolute. Right. So the difference is just that, again, you can decide to give it a name or you can log the cell. Even if I don't give it a name, if I come here, maybe I didn't give it a name, I can go here to type equals to this multiplied by, if I go to this sheet and I click on this cell and I lock it, it's still going to work. Do you understand? Okay. All right, Christopher, let's hear you. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my boss actually gave me work on a seminar to do, and working on that, I couldn't get this relative correctly. But watching what you do now, I became confused further. Here, you said equals F7, should I multiply FG7? Is it the equal sign you use that gave us these answers correctly?
Okay. When you say F7, I mean, you're talking about, which cell are you talking about now? This one or this one?
The first cell.
This one, right? So what I did here was just multiply this. Look at it. Multiply this sales amount. And I went to this sheet to reference that commission. Do you understand? That's what I've done there. And when I was doing it, I was saying that it was not correct, right? Because I didn't give the cell a name. And as I copied the formula down, Excel began to change. Right. So what I now said is that it is better we give it a name so I can save us the time of having to switch to another sheet. Now, this issue of this name cell came in place when I was explaining what is called absolute, right? Which is what I did here, saying that if you want to do this calculation now, that if you multiply this by this and you just press enter, your answer will never be correct. Okay, we're giving this cell a name. No wonder it's explained this way. So let's think another one here. So if you go here to type equals to this multiplied by this, and you press enter, watch. look at what you're going to have. Why are you having this cell? Because Excel is changing the reference by default. So not for Excel to change the reference, we are saying that, you know what, put your cursor on this cell. As you're doing it, put your cursor on this cell and just make it what? Absolute by locking it with F4, then press enter. So once you've done that, I locked the wrong one. So let me undo. I locked the wrong one. I'm supposed to lock the L7, not K. This one. Press F4, enter. Then your answer is correct. So if you don't want to lock, what you can also do is give this cell a name. For example, if you give this cell, maybe you call this cell AA. Now that I've called the cell AA now, I don't need to lock because Excel will never change the reference. If you multiply this by AA and press enter, I think the AA is not saved. AA, enter. See? When you copy the formula down, Excel will never change the reference. So whichever you want to use. Does that make sense? Do you understand now?
Yes, I do, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, I do, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I do,
Okay,
sir.
so that is absolute cell reference. Remember, it does not change, and you're telling Excel, help me log my cell. You can do that by pressing F4 or F4 and function key. And the third one is a mixed. Now, this one is where you either have a column locked, your column could be locked. This is when you're having something like this. $A1. You can see that the dollar sign is at the back of the A, meaning column is locked. You can also have something like this, which is called row locked. Right. So you can have something like this. You can see that the dollar sign is at the back of the one, which means we are locking the row in this one, while in this one we are locking the column. This is what is called mixed cell reference. And you don't have to climb the number of times you need to press your dollar sign. For example, if you press your dollar sign, maybe if you press F4 and Fn, maybe 2 times, you're going to switch between column or row locked. 3 times, it's going to switch between row and column locked. What I want you to notice is the position. But don't apply the dollar sign manually. Just begin to press your F4. Press your F4 once, it's going to lock everything. Press the second time, it's going to lock either the column or the row. Press the third time, it's going to switch the lock as well. Do you understand? All right, so let's see a scenario where this is applicable. This is not popular. A lot of people don't use it, but I'm going to show you a typical scenario of how you can use it. So let's look at this scenario we have down here. So let's imagine that this is our gross. This is our basic. So this is our housing. This is transport. This is medical. Let's call this one others. And of course, this column will be total. Why this stays to be gross. Okay, so let's bring this up by 1 cell. One second, guys. So I'm just trying to format the cell properly. Okay, format. Okay, so let's put percentage on the header. So of course, this one is 100%. Let's imagine that based on our company, our basic is 40%. Housing is 20%. That is already 60. This one is 15%. That is 75. And this one is 10%. That is 85. And this one is 5%. That is 100%. Okay. What I'm showing you now is one of the interviews that I personally did. Trust me, a live interview question. So the question was saying that using one formula, just one formula, right? Calculate, split the percentage, split the salary based on percentage. This was a live interview question that I attempted myself. Now, looking at it, you will feel like, of course, this is very easy. It's straightforward. What's so special about this? But in Excel interview, your success is highly dependent on how you follow instruction. Because everybody knows there are hundreds of ways to get to your destination. Right. But what I want to test here is your ability to use cell reference. Now, let's do this. If you come on here, to type equals to this multiplied by this and press enter. If you copy the formula down, what will Excel do? Excel will exhibit its default behavior. So you can see when Excel gets, what did it do? It changed the reference from 40% to 100,000. When it gets here, it changed it to 200,000 multiplied by this. So this is clearly not correct. So Excel will keep changing this one down if you don't log this. So what we want to do is that Excel, as I'm copying this thing from this place to this place to this place to this place, I don't want you to change this row. Just remain on this row. So if you speak that language to Excel, it means that you want to tell Excel, help me log the row, which is going to be row locked. Because if you don't log the row, Excel will keep shifting it down. Look at it. You keep copying it down. When it gets here, it's already multiplying this by this one. This is the way Excel is designed by default. And this is not an error from Excel. It's just Excel exhibiting its defined behavior. So for this one now, we're going to log the row. And what row do you want to log? The entire row of 23. So if you lock row 23 now, row 23 to be locked. If you lock row 23 now, it means that once I copy this thing down, it will never change. So let's do that together. So I'm going to delete. I'll just go here to type equals. I'll click on this. How do I lock this row? I'm going to press my F4 the first time. This is absolute, right? Now, I'm going to press the second time. Now, you see that dollar sign has now reduced to just 1, and it has shifted to the back of 23. Now, what this means now is that I'm locking the row. So I'm going to multiply by this cell. For this, we are not looking for now. We are focusing on the row. What I've done, if I press enter, watch. Once I copy the formula down, Excel will never change. Look at it. When it gets here, this one is changing. You can see. This one is not changing. You can see. So this one is changing. The row is not changing. That's the first step. If you have not done that, if you have done it this way, let me show you. If you have done it this way, you will have this error message like this. But because we did what? We logged this row by putting our dollar sign at the back of 23. Excel begin to reference this one. We are able to solve that problem. That is one. Now, after I've done this, remember the formula says, write just one formula to allocate this. Now, after I've written this formula, you will think that, of course, I should be able to copy to the right. But unfortunately, what will Excel do? Excel will also change the column. When it gets here, Excel has shifted from this column. It is now shifted to this cell. When it gets here, it has shifted from this column to this column now. That's what Excel keeps doing. Unless you are saying you want to begin to do it column by column. And your answer will tell us how you achieve it. So it's possible your answer is correct and you still fail that Excel interview. Because if you come here to replicate the same thing that you did here, your answer will be correct, of course. But I can see that you don't understand how to use a mixed cell reference. So what we want to do here is to say, you know what? Now I want to log the column. And the advantage of that is, as I'm copying this formula to the right, it will keep this locked. So for this one, we want to lock what? The column is column J. We're going to lock column J. Now let's edit our formula. So this is our formula. So what we need to do is just put our cursor here. We're going to press F4 the first time, absolute. Second time, I'm going to press F4 the third time. You can see $sign has now shifted to the back of that J. Now, when the $sign is in this position, it means I'm locking what? The column, because the alphabet are the columns and the numbers are the rows. And I'll press enter. So with what I've done now, I can just copy it down. I can drag my formula to the right. Look at it, guys. And everything is perfect. So if I write my formula now, you see that everything is 100%. So this is how to use mixed cell reference. It's not difficult, but it just entails you understanding, oh, something is wrong. Okay, something is wrong. I know
Your
that something is wrong.
percentage is not
It's
100.
not
Your
up to
percentage is
100%.
90. Yeah, it's not up to 100.
Thank you so much for that correction.
Right.
So let's change this one to 20%. Now we are together. And I made that mistake again because I did this thing manually. See, I love the fact that I made that mistake. This 100%, I'm not supposed to put it manually. I'm supposed to use formula to add it together. So those are the small manual work that we do that put us in trouble. Telling you, if I'd add everything together, I would have been able to know that, oh, this is supposed to be 100%. So let's add it now. Enter. See? So I can go here to autofill. And everything is perfect. You can see this. Our normal amount, let me zoom out. Our gross, which is this, is equals to this. Now, speaking of writing one formula, which what I like to do. So this copying that we just did now, I don't like to do it, right? Especially when I know somebody is watching and wanted to review me based on how efficient I am. I can still write one formula without copying it. So what I'm going to do now is I will just do what I've done. Right. You see people do this. People do it a lot in Excel. They want to let you know that they are good. So what do? They highlight all the area. They just press equals to this. Remember, we want to log the row. F4, yes, multiply by this. And they want to lock what? The column here. And then they press Control and Enter. Look at it. Everything automatically populates. So you can populate all your answers at the same time, and then you can be 100% sure that it will never be wrong. So what you learn now is what is called mixed cell reference. And trust me, this is very important, and it's going to enhance the way you walk around Excel. Any question? Okay, for me, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I want to ask a question on what you did right now. It looks like magic to me. So do you log the row and the column at the same time, then populate it on all the cells?
Great question.
Okay.
So what I did, the first thing that I've done is I don't want to copy, I don't want to be dragging to the right or down. I just want answers to all be fetched at the same time. So the step one is to highlight all the cells. They're going to go to equals this. Now for this one, we have already established that we want to log the row. And how do I log the row? We're going to press F4 just twice. Again, I don't want you to count the number of times. You just watch the position of the $sign. Currently now it's at the back of 23. And like we know, numbers are the rows. So what this means is I've just logged the row. Multiply by this one. But for this, I want to log the column. So what do? I'll press F4 maybe 3 times. Now, because I want the answers to return for all the cells, I'm not just going to press enter, but instead I'll press Control and enter. And guess what? Excel will populate all the answers. But remember to highlight everything before you write the formula. Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So this is what is called mixed cell reference. When you begin to use this, trust me, people will have to comment and that, wow, how did you do this? Come on, let's see, and the like. Okay, so we've learned relative, absolute, and mixed. So let's go to something known as this. Now, ordinarily, when you see something like this in Excel, you'll be tempted to call it a table. That's what you would call this. You call this a table. And I'm not judging you. You call it a table because, of course, it has columns. You can see lines. So this is not a table. As it is now, it is a range. So this data and this data, they are the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this one to a table, right? And this one's going to be in a range. So I can show you the importance of a table and a range. So how do you convert your data to a table? Because I want to convert just this side. I'm going to highlight the header and I'll press Ctrl Shift and down to highlight everything. I'm going to use my scroll bar to go back up. So you can go here to insert. After you've highlighted your data, you'll see option here that says table. Look at it. Click on table. And then automatically it's going to ask you, does your table has header? You can click on OK. You can also use shortcut, which is Ctrl T. Now watch what happens once I convert this data to a table. Once I click on OK, something changes. Of course, you notice the designs in the data. That is not all. There's another tab at the top that come up with it, which is called a table design. So what tells you whether a data is a table or a range is not this design. It is when you put your cursor in that data and it comes up, you see table design tab at the top, then it means that data is a table. If I put my cursor here now, you will not see such thing as table design. So when I put my cursor here, this is a table design. Here, there's no such thing as a table design. Please note that I can also make this one to look like this. This is just a filter symbol. This is just a design. And I can do that here. But a table comes with its own design. So let's talk about the features of a table. Why should you convert your data to a table? All right, the first thing is when you go to table design, it comes with a lot of style that you can switch from. I can switch to this color, this. In fact, a lot of layout by default that you can choose. You can also say you don't want any design, but you want it to be in a table by clicking on this one. But sometimes, because it does not have that color, people feel it's not a table. However, I've told us, when you put your cursor there, always look at the top. Once it's a table design, it means it's a table. That is one. Second thing is that because it is a table, it comes with a filter symbol. Can you see it? I can apply a filter symbol here too, but this one comes with a filter symbol by default, which can allow you to preview your data quickly. There are just how many customers here? There are just 5 customers in this business. And when you go to table design, there is something you will also notice, which is called slicer. So this slicer, it is more or less like a filter. However, it allows you to filter your report interactively. So what do I mean? Let's imagine that I want to filter this report by customer. I just click on customer here and I'll click on OK. It shows me the list of 5 customers that we have. I can switch between them. Corporate customer, Compu gather customer. Can you see what is happening? That this column is filtered. Working customers. I can clear the slicer. So this slicer comes with a table. I can delete it. When you go to table design, you can also convert it back to range. Say, you know what, I'm tired of table. I want it back in range. You also have that option. Or you can also decide to give the table a name. See, what the table name you want to give it? Let's call it Apple underscore sales or Apple underscore report. Press enter. I'm sure we all know the part of the name now. So with this name now, it will help us enhance our report. Moving forward, when we need this table, we can now reference it by using the name. So those are the features that comes with a table. Now let me show us more features in the table. Now this is a range. If I want to calculate my revenue, which is going to be selling price multiplied by quantity, I will come on here to type equals selling price multiplied by what? By quantity. You can see that it's saying N10 multiplied by O10. This is the way Excel behaves by default. Right? It will tell you the cell name and what it is referencing. All right. I'll just go here to press enter. You can see these are revenue. And after I've done the first one, I can go here to autofill down. Now, let's see how the table behaves. The first thing with the table is that you don't need to autofill. Once I do any calculation here, automatically fills down. That's one. Number two, table will not mention the cell name, but instead it will mention the header name. What do I mean? If I go on here and type equals this cell, you can see that the cell name is populated as selling price. Again, you've been seeing this in your data. You may not know what it means. You are seeing this selling price because this data is converted to a table. And one of the rules of a table is its use is what? Is header name and not cell name. Multiply by this cell here. As I press enter, everything automatically fills. You can see I don't need to do autofill automatically. So these are the features that come with a table and a range. Now, let me now show you one of the other advantage of having it in a table and giving it a name. Remember the name that we gave it is what? Apple report. You can put a space, or you can put underscore to separate your words. Now let's imagine that we want to now do a summary, which is called executive summary of our data. So this one will be for range. This one will be for table. So let's increase the font, make it bold, increase the font. Okay. So somebody is asking us for what's total sales, which is more or less like revenue. Of course, to get this, we will have to go here to do what? To say, okay, let's also separate the line. So we're able to. So total sales, you will have to go here to type equals sum. Where's your data source? You have to switch to this sheet. And you need to come on here to highlight, Control Shift and down. Then close and press enter. Oh, there's nothing bad in this method. Of course, your answer is perfect. But as a table, as an Excel advanced user, I'm not going to do that because I have converted my data to a table and the table name is called Apple Report. So what will I do? I'll go here to type equals sum. So I am going to fetch the table. What's the table name? Apple. But you and I know that I'm not trying to sum the entire data, but instead I needed a column called revenue. So how do I get a column called revenue here? I just put a square bracket and then all of the column in that table shows up like this. So I'll click on revenue, then square bracket as well. Again, this is the table name we gave it. And by clicking on square bracket, it will open all the columns in that table for you, which will allow you to select the header that you want. And I'll press enter. The answer is the same, of course. Nothing's changed. Now, we're in another month. Let's update our report. And I always say this. You see how productive you are in Excel. What is the bigger flex is how much time you spend doing what you do. If every month you have to begin to check your calculation to review all your summary again, it means you've not done enough. But there's a way you can automate it. And that's what I'm about to show you. Now, this is a new month. Let's imagine that we have a new data for new month. So let's just copy part of this data and paste it. The first thing you notice is that this person will have to automatically drag the formula down again to get the revenue. But let's see what a table does. If I go here to a table, I just paste. Look at table will automatically populate its own. Also, I have to go here to automatically fill this one again. So every time, this is what you have to do. And guess what? You can even forget to do this. Now, the real main deal is when you now go to your summary, you notice that the one with the range is not changed, while the table has been updated. So every time you update your source data, you have to go here to begin to also calculate your formula all over. So this is what you have to do. Equals to sum, go back to that data and begin to highlight it from the top all over. And not just for one, for all your KPIs. Whereas somebody who has used a table can enjoy an automated report. So these are the difference between an average Excel user and a productive one. This person is saving a lot of time. Number one, it does not switch to another sheet. It's here, populate everything. Number two, his formula is more neat and clean. Number three, when the source data is updated, this person is 100% certain that his report is updated. While this person can also encounter an error, because every time you update, you have to go and rewrite all the formulas. So let's ignore this and focus on the table. Okay, so let's go to the next question. What is the average sales? I'm going to go ahead to type equals average. What do? I populate the table name, which is called what? Apple report. Again, I need a column called revenue. Square bracket. I'm going to go here to click on revenue. Square bracket, close, press enter. So this is our average sales. The next one is number of employees. I can go here. Please note, you're still going to learn all these sum count functions. We're just focusing on how we can write references here. So when we get to that exercise, you will learn all of these functions that we are using here. So when you go here, you can type equals to count A, for example. I want to count the number of salesperson. Employee. I will go here to say Apple report. Square brackets. Salesperson is what I want to count. This salesperson. Square bracket, close, and press enter. Somebody's asked, what is highest commission? We don't have commission, but we have revenue. So let's change this commission to revenue. To do that, you don't have to change it manually. You can do something called find and replace. By highlighting this, you can go to home. There's a place called find and select, which is called replace here. You can see. Or you can press Ctrl H. What am I finding? I'm finding commission. I want to replace with what? With revenue. I'll click on replace all. That has changed. So in Excel, if you want to get highest from a list, the formula to use is called max. So I'm going to go here to type equals max, which is Apple sales, Apple report, square bracket, revenue, square bracket, close. Trust me, if you write formula like this, it means for those of you that are also coming back for data analysis, that want to learn how to use Power BI and SQL, this is the fundamentals of Power BI function writing. So if you learn this already, you are good to go and get to Power BI DAX. I know it's not something you are used to. In fact, it's not that common. People don't use this method. But this is an advanced way to write formulas in Excel. And if you use it in any report, somebody like me sees it, we know that you are not a beginner. So if you want to showcase, you want to flex, you can also flex with these formulas. And when you even send it, somebody that does not know about Excel will begin to wonder, what does this mean? All right, so max will get you this highest revenue. Enter. What about the minimum revenue? Equals min. Apple report. Square bracket. So I'm going to update the source data once again to show you that if you update this source data 100 times in a day, your final result. So let's copy it as a number and paste by the side. It's not a formula. So let's go and update the source data one more time. I want to update. Let's find that we have a new sales data. Watch what's going to happen, guys. I'm going to go here to just put it here. Ctrl V. Formula is automatically updated. Look at it. Guys, everything is updated. It was this before. It is now this. It was this before. It's now this. Can you see? So that's one thing you need to know about. What you learn now is what is called structured reference. And with this, we've come to the end of this exercise. Any question? Any question from anyone? Okay, let me be asking, do we understand? Do we get it? Please, I need the thumbs up from anyone at least. Everybody's quiet. Do you understand, guys? Okay, I have to. Thank you, Nee. Thank you, Fumi. Okay, so don't worry. You can also watch the video and try and practice. Like I always say, practice is that's your game. I mean, that's your key to learn Excel. You can watch it 1,000 times. If you don't do it yourself, trust me, you don't know it all. So if you have questions, you can always reach out. And if it is personal, just like Christopher, who was mentioned the other time, if it's personal, just like Christopher mentioned, you can always share your screen with me or send to only me. Right. If you are stuck with how to use this thing, you can always reach out. I'm on the WhatsApp group as well.